Hey humans, Susan Ruth here. How's it going? Thanks for listening to Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 22, and on this episode, I had a great conversation with Rachel Kice. She is an abstract painter extraordinaire. She's a provocateur, performance artist, musician, writer, many things. Super creative, super bright, interesting woman. And we had a really great conversation about all sorts of things, creativity and life and philosophy and religion and being a female in the world of the arts and, just all sorts of stuff. Her work is collected all over the world. You've probably seen her work if you watch any of these shows watch TV, ABC, CNN, CMT. Her works are hanging in the in the offices of different TV show people, fictional characters. Her work is in the Tennessee State Museum, the Country Music Hall of Fame. The list is very long. So I have a lot of information about her on the heyhumanpodcast.com website. There's links and stuff, so you can go there and check it out and learn more about Rachel aside from this conversation that you are about to hear. And, just in general, housekeeping, please go to iTunes and subscribe to Hey Human and review it. That would be great. And I really appreciate the listening. And, this is great. heyhumanpodcast.com on the internet, and maybe you've heard of the internet. I think it'll catch on if you haven't heard of it yet. And then there's also my Instagram.com/heyhumanpodcast. So it's dumb that I laugh at my own jokes. I'm here by myself in my kitchen, so if I don't laugh at them, nobody will. Maybe you are listening and laughing. Anyway, I'll be quiet and let the podcast speak for itself. Okay, here we go. Episode 22, Hey Human Podcast, Rachel Kice. Hi, Rachel Kice.
Hi, Susan.
Thank you for being on Hey Human Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've known each other a very long time.
I know.
About a decade, I think. You were one of the first people I met when I moved to Nashville, and although you don't live in Nashville anymore, that's where I met you the first time.
Yeah, it had to be like 15 years ago, maybe.
I've only been in town 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm fast.
Mike Terali invited us to a party at your house. You had that lofty art space you lived in. There were cats. That's where Orbit, my cat, who's since passed away, but that's where she came from. She was the daughter of your cat Rocket.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
I haven't thought of that in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, our cat, Rocket found us. Actually, like, we were her people more than she was our cat.
Yeah, that happens with cats.
Mm-hmm, she came inside and gave birth, like, prolifically.
Well, Orbit was a very bright cat, a wonderful cat, and was dear bestie friends with Mikey. So.
Oh, that's awesome! I remember now, but I totally forgot. That's great.
Life has a funny way of moving forward, and you forget stuff because there's just so much to pack into every year. It's amazing to me. Time is it's mind-boggling to me how fast everything goes and how much a person can pack into a singular moment. You know?
I know. I agree. Although you just gave me like an extra 4 or 5 years here today because I could have sworn it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That's great.
I
got a new leaf. Life, Susan.
You what? A new lease on life. That's right. What are you going to do with an extra 5 years?
I'm going to have to, I don't know.
If this is a movie, we'd now flash to you, a quick cut to you, and you'd be in a red sports car driving through Italy with sunglasses in a Princess Grace kind of montage thing. That would be great. We'll let everyone just see that in their mind's eyes.
The personal license plate that says 5 years with a Z.
Yes, 2 Z's even, maybe 3. So Rachel Kice, phenomenal painter, visual artist extraordinaire, abstractist. I was trying to think before I FaceTimed with you here. the style of abstract art that you do, is there a term for that specifically, or is it just all lumped into abstract, or?
I'm not extremely well educated. I
Me
do
either.
think that, just let me preface it with that. But I believe it falls into abstract expressionism more than anything.
Okay. Yeah. And you get compared to Picasso a lot. Is that bothersome, or do you enjoy that comparison?
I mean, that's a great artist. That's a really nice thing to say. I don't know if...
Oh my goodness. He's like, what? Not Picasso.
He's comparing me to Picasso right now.
Yeah. He's like, the blue period is exceptional.
Oh, he just said no, Matisse. And that's wrong, Prince. No. He's gonna go get an art history book and figure this out.
That's right. You're gonna find now. We'll go to the montage of him looming over a giant dusty art book in a library somewhere. This is great. We need to make some movies.
That's funny. But yeah, I think it's abstract expressionism, particularly the live work, where I'm working just more in the moment than with the concept.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really enjoy that aspect of what you do. And you're still doing the Periscope live painting? People can tune in and watch you performance paint, or?
Well, I'm thinking.
I don't know how to call it. I mean, we could just start making up words. It's performance painting.
I haven't done it in a while. I'll tell you, I started on that Periscope, took a little dare from my dad to get on Periscope and paint and talk to people. And I had a lot of fun doing it, but then I just one day just got really, you get these nasty comments from total strangers.
Oh, the trolls, yeah.
I was really surprised by it. You know, I think it was probably a little bit, what is that, like, you know, kind of sheltered of me to be surprised by it. I mean, there's strangers and trolls on the internet, but I just really thought of that, and I didn't really totally like what it was bringing in, so I shut it off for a little while.
Yeah. It is amazing to me that people will spend their time saying rude, mean things. How does that, I mean, I guess that there's joy in all things, but it's very surprising that people take the time to be viciously rude.
Yeah, it's not how I want to spend my time, and it's really not just the words I want coming into my life. So I do know there's a switch you can turn it off, but part of the reason I wanted to do Periscope was to be more interactive with people.
Yeah,
so
which is a lovely thing.
I don't know.
I watched several of your Periscope painting sessions, and it's very soothing.
That's sweet.
Yeah, so it's sort of, you could, you know, perhaps it's like a new generation for the Bob Rossers or something, but it's a very soothing thing, and your voice is very soothing. So it was kind of a zen activity for me to watch you in your process and have you sort of delightfully comment with people back and forth, and so I very much enjoyed it. Don't let the haters, I'm going to turn my fan off here, don't let the haters, you know, stop you from whatever, you know. Screw the haters. They're always going to hate, as Taylor Swift would say.
Well, that's so true. That's just, yeah, I know it's, you know, shake it off and go on again, but you know, sometimes there's, you know, if I'm in the middle of a series I really care a lot about, and, you know, I just don't want to interrupt that flow with having to stop and shake it off or anything, you know. It's like, but maybe I'll do it. Susan, you just brought up some good points.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's an army of us out there that really enjoyed it and found a lovely peace in it. So, you know, the army against the handful of jerks, just, you know, just saying.
Well, thank you.
But if I know that painting is a spiritual practice in a way, you know, you're communing with the universe or God, or, you know, depending on your beliefs, whatever it is, just as we people looking at a piece of art find spirituality or God or the universe or whatever when we're looking at it. So it's such a lovely communion for lack of a better word, between person looking at the art and person creating the art. I'm curious, just because your work, to me, is so alive. Was it always that? Did you come out of the gate like, woohoo? I love the fact that you said that you're uneducated in art per se, because just like Jimi Hendrix, guess what? Didn't read music. I mean, I think some of the greatest creatives of all time didn't sully their mind with the supposed tos. That's my own personal opinion, but how do you feel about all that? Were you always that expressive when you began, or?
Yes. But I was just really encouraged by both my parents. They created a home environment early on where we really had access, my sisters and I, to materials and where our ideas were never even really knocked. That was just, my mother would come up with all kinds of projects for us, and she was working on her own projects too, so we had her modeling that for us. She's usually helping a lot of people doing, charity work and things like that, but usually something with the arts. So, yes, so I guess, where it was, probably a combination of nature and nurture, where it was just, it came naturally, and then really everything we needed was right there.
And you grew up in Wichita, Kansas?
Yeah, in Wichita, Kansas. It's not your normal Kansas story, really.
Yeah, so is that a vibrant art culture, or was it really so your home life was the thing?
Well, I would say that's two questions. I mean, I don't think that Wichita is known as a vibrant art culture, although I think Wichita does have some really great visual arts and also theater arts. And I maybe wouldn't have said that until I had traveled the country more and been more places, but the quality of what they produce there, the quantity is lower than a lot of places, but the quality is really, really very good. So as I've gotten older, I've been able to see that, I did come from a really vibrant community. But it was really the home life, I think, is where that's where they encouraged us also to get out the door and, show our artwork or audition for the play or be part of, the community, whatever we wanted to do.
How old were you when you had your first art show?
I think it must have been in high school sometime is when I started showing, but just in the different scholastic competitions and things. I don't think I ever had a formal art show really. It would have been in Kansas City. My daughter and I showed together at the Starbucks.
Ah, awesome.
When she was about 3. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you know at a young age, while you were creating, did you think, this is something? Or was it more people saying to you, wow, Rachel, you're doing great, this is great? Or did you have a sense of it for yourself in the beginning? Assuming, of course, you have a sense for yourself now.
Well, that's interesting you said that, because I don't know if I have a sense of it. I have, I always thought that, I never thought of it as I never thought of myself as a painter. I never thought that I would grow up and be a painter. I didn't even know what I wanted. When it came time to go to college, I was kind of tired of school and kind of at the last minute didn't want to go. And my parents were, well, you're pretty smart. You should go to college. We can send you. And so then I thought, well, I love painting and I love music. And I felt like I knew the least about music. So I ended up applying to music school and getting in, and I went there. So that made that decision.
Yeah.
I didn't have a huge aim ever.
As an artist, or just in general?
In general.
Yeah, that's okay.
In general. Yeah, the only thing I can remember really, really wanting to do when I was young was adopt a bunch of children.
Really? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah, and I could still get that done.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's dogs. I just want dogs. Lots of dogs.
Lots of dogs?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I love dogs. So,
But that's to say, I definitely do have goals now. They
Yeah.
It didn't take too long. I do love what I do.
So you have a degree. You have a music degree.
No, I didn't finish that either.
Okay, all right. So you were, I mean, like a lot of creatives, you're sort of swimming down many rivers, trying to discover.
Yeah. I got it. Well, I had studied classical voice growing up, and I ended up, I felt a little bit stifled by the formality there, and so at the last minute when I was applying for colleges, I applied to Berklee College of Music, and I took in, rather than one of my classical art songs, I took in a Harry Chapin song. And I got a vocal scholarship to the school with that audition. So that was, and then shortly after that, right before I went into school, let's see, how did it happen? I graduated high school a little bit early, went on a theater tour, and then right before college, I got pregnant, and so I only stayed at Berklee for a little while until I had my baby. And then I returned to Kansas, and my super cool dad would fly me back to Kansas. Well, dad and mom, but this was a conversation I had with my dad where he said, just go learn what you want to learn. I was feeling pretty lost and still not feeling like I wanted to go into a formal university setting, especially as a new mom. And I just felt overwhelmed. And so yeah, he asked me what I wanted to learn, and I said, well, I'm still interested in music and art and acting. And so he flew me to Boston for workshops, back to Berklee. I flew to Los Angeles for acting classes.
That's amazing.
And it was amazing, and I attended one of the first digital music conferences in New York City. Just all different kinds of things. When a workshop came up, though, and it worked out for everyone's schedule, and my folks could babysit my daughters. So that was what I did for a few years when I was back, like
that's
age
a
1.
Great education. How phenomenal!
It was a really cool, really cool education, and I have some neat little pockets of information because of it.
Yeah. God, I'm super jealous of that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a wonderful way to learn about lots of different creative things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. I think it's really nice to think about that too today, Susan. Thanks, because I think that's one of those things that it's just a huge gift that I've got, and especially as a teenage single mom. I mean, I don't know anyone else with that story, so that's pretty neat. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
And then my sisters, I have twin sisters. They went and got formal art education, so I got to learn a little bit vicariously through them, and
twins,
and especially
not your twin. These are twins. You're an older sister, two
Mm-hmm.
twin sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Two twin sisters. Yeah, so I have wings.
Okay.
Sister wings. Yeah.
Sister wings. Got
Yeah,
it.
and yeah, but one is a curator and one is a fine artist.
Oh, fantastic! Are your styles similar to the fine artist in your style?
No, not really.
Yeah.
No, I really admire what she does. Actually love it. She's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
But but very, very different. She works more with fibers and patterns and gosh, I mean, I wouldn't speak correctly for her work now, because I mean she's starting to add so many different medium into what she's doing. Yeah,
sure.
I should shut up. It's her.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to speak incorrectly about her work, but beautiful work.
So when did you make the decision? You were doing music, and I've heard you were the band that I know that you were in was the King and Queen stuff. Is that right? Is it King versus Queen or King and Queen?
I think we did all different names.
You changed it around, okay? Because I'm like, maybe it's both of those things. But and which I considered sort of like artsy, poppy, punky. I don't know. There was sort of it kind of crossed a.
But I think Max Abrams nailed.
Huh?
Do you know Max Abrams, of course?
Yeah.
Right. Saxophonist. He's out playing with the Mavericks now. Max back then called it, I think he nailed the genre. He called it Midwestern art rock.
Nice. Perfect.
Yes.
We'll quote him on that. That's good. When did you so were you at that point going, okay, you have all these different things that you've been learning, and you're becoming, a young woman, an adult in the world. What made you say, okay, I'm going to go down this path that it's going to be art. It's going to be my, my abstract paintings. Or did you make that conscious decision, or was it sort of brought to you because somebody said, hey, will you paint me a painting? And you went, okay. Sometimes people fall into what they are or who they are. Was it a conscious decision, or?
Both. Interestingly enough, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I never really did set out to paint. It was, on a dare that I first painted on stage, and then my pieces started selling. And then, so here I am, new to town in Nashville. I was working at Warner Chappell Music Publishing, and I've got a daughter, and I didn't want to put her in daycare. So I had and I was 24, newly 24, so nothing made more sense to me than to say, I'll just sell my paintings in coffee shops. I mean, I had absolutely no proof that it would work. It was just an idea. If I sell this many a month, then I can pick my daughter up after school and pay my rent. And so I did that, and it actually worked. And then not long after that, it didn't work extremely well, but I got it done. I wasn't rolling in it. And I met a lot of people doing that too, just having my paintings in the coffee shop. And then not long after that, Max Abrams and I started the Circus Maximus show, where I was painting on stage. And that's when people really in town and in the community really started to know me as a painter. And then within the year of that, John and Kenny from Big and Rich invited me out on the road with them as part of their group Music Mafia. So I just kind of suddenly had a career. It took about, when people say, it didn't happen overnight, but in my case it kind of did. Less than a year after moving to a new town, I had a job.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
Working for myself, but creating abstract art during country music is just I don't think anyone could have sat down and said, this'll work, but it worked very quickly. And so, so I don't think it was a totally conscious decision. Most of it was just whoa, this is paying my bills, so I can actually go work in a coffee shop and make lattes, or I can sell my artwork and support my family, you know? So it wasn't much of a decision to make, really. It's just, let me go do this. Yeah, and then I'm surrounded by music, which is what I was pursuing, so kind of great.
It made sense.
Made a lot of sense, yeah. I didn't even have much to think about it.
It's so crazy to think about the certain doors you walk through, and for you to just say, maybe I'll try this. And so you did. And then that opened all these other doors. And it's to me, I'm always marveling at that. One choice, which creates this whole, the ripple effect outward to create your life. But if you hadn't been willing to say yes in certain moments, it wouldn't have happened. Maybe. Maybe it would have happened inevitably, because I think some things do. There's no matter what obstacle you put in front of something, it is an undeniable happening, and it will eventually come to its fruition.
True. True.
But the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm listening.
Oh, it's a neat thing. Did you ever think, I'm going to throw some art in the coffee house and see what happens, that eventually you were going to be, for example, you're in the Tennessee State Museum, your work, so the girl who thought, we'll see if this works, to now the woman watching her work be hung in a prestigious museum. That's humongous. What a beautiful journey that is.
I never really thought about it like that. That's hilarious. Yeah. I will say, though, that decision with the coffee to hang my paintings in the coffee shop, it wasn't an It was a, because I've done a lot of, we'll try this, we'll try that, we'll try, it was a, this will work. I had so much belief behind that I didn't have an idea of the outcome. I had no clue. I had no aim to be in a museum or to be anything like that. I just was like, this will work. This is what, and it was, I think, one of those magical moments that, I wish I felt like that more often. Actually, I probably shouldn't do anything unless I feel like that, because it seems like you've got to have that kind of thrust behind your decisions in order for them to really be true, know? Mm-hmm. Or to kind of work out for you or take you to those kind of magical moments.
Right. I'm going to ask you the world's most cliche question that people get, but your process, is it a directive or is it more ethereal in nature, in that do you have this concept in your brain pan, I'm going to paint this today, or do you step in front of your canvas, or is it maybe it's both? I mean, I imagine it's a lot like music writing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it's both. I mean, at this point, now I have to schedule out what I'm doing because, like commissions and things like that, and I have several projects going. I'm developing several writing projects with partners, so that, we've got like 3 people's schedules involved in those, and then I've got commissions coming in, and then so I'm busier now than when I first said, I'm going to hang my art in the coffee shop. So I have to, I usually I have a general idea of what I'm going to paint on what day or what I'm going to do on what day.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a series I've been for about a year now, where I know there's something to it, and I've just been I don't know where it's going. I don't know exactly what I'm doing with it, but so I've been just trying to make sure to leave some free space there so that I'm not pushing it. So I've got a little exploration going on a few, about like a dozen canvases right now.
That must feel very exciting, though, to have that unknown. Something that's surprising yourself is always, I find that to be a beautiful, for me personally, I find that process to be really lovely, because you're on a true adventure with your work. I think that's cool. Your brain's going, oh my God, I can do anything. Let's see what happens. That's a neat place to be. It's very childlike in a way, I guess,
That's a really healthy mindset. I don't know. I hope I can achieve that mindset, Susan. I've been so, I've wanted for a while now to just, let's see.
We lost our video, but.
Okay, hold on. I've got a phone call coming in. Just a second.
Oh, okay.
There we go. It was, no, I have wanted for a while now to have, I have some idea that I can't define, where this series is very cohesive and very, thorough and on and on and on, and I want it to be done right now, and I just don't know what it is exactly.
Yeah. Are you hard on yourself, or do you give yourself a lot of slack? Most artists I know are extremely hard on themselves, so I assume that is.
I'm very hard on myself, yes, and yes, I'm working through that right now. I'm on a program actually to try to unwind from some of that.
How do you do that? How do you get inside your mind and try and teach it to let go? I think a lot of people have that problem,
Oh yeah. Well, I've done. I did a 7-week personal development program, and then after that, I mean that was where it kind of came to a head of I want to change some things about myself. So I did. I pulled back and really worked on my inner workings, and then now I've come up with my very own little morning practice, inspired partially by. I've combined the artist's way, the morning pages. I do the morning pages, and in my morning pages, I do sense-bound writing, object writing that the songwriting professor and author Pat Pattison recommends in his books.
I've met Pat before. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pat's a very good friend of mine. He's actually the professor who made things possible for me in Nashville, the Berkeley professor. He's a very good friend, like a family member now, and I'm finally listening to him after all these years. I'm doing sense-bound writing in the morning, but that's my
What
first
does
step.
that mean? What is sense-bound? Oh, that means you're taking in your senses, or taking in...
Yeah, it's well, and he calls it object writing. So basically, I pick an object. Like if I were going to do it right now, I've got this coffee cup sitting in front of me. So coffee cup, and then 20 minutes of free writing. Only instead of just whatever comes to mind, I focus in on my senses, my sight, sound, all our five senses, and then also the kinesthetic sense, like where your heartbeat and things comes from. So to write from that place, so I might start with the word warm, or whatever. So you try to connect with your senses while you're doing the writing, and it pulls out some beautiful lines, and it's very comforting to do, very soothing.
Huh, that's a nice meditation.
It is, yes. And then I do a meditation and some breathing.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm doing right now to try to keep myself to be nicer to Rachel.
Oh, the little Rachel. I get it. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you ever get painter's block? Is there I assume there's a thing like writer's block, painter's block.
Yeah.
I keep saying I assume. I assume a lot when I'm talking to people because I don't know how you live your life or what you think about it.
Well, you're multi-talented yourself and excessively creative, so you know.
But I don't know how it is for you. That's what I'm saying. I
Right.
can speak to how it is for me. I can stare at a blank canvas for quite a while, and then I just get mad and throw a color down and just sort of finger paint until my brain falls out, and then I walk away, But I don't know how it is for you. So I look at you and I think, my God, you're so prolific, and you're so visionary, and such beautiful stuff bursts from you. And I think she probably never gets painter's block. So, but I assume that you're a human being, so you probably have, suffered the muses, shunning at times.
No, I don't get. I actually, that's one thing I've never related to, was to feel blocked creatively, and I don't mean that in a I've never been blocked creatively kind of way, because I think I kind of do the opposite. I get painters or writers confusion. I have so many ideas and I see so many different connections that it's overwhelming. So mine is the opposite challenge of simplifying, really, so that's kind of where I work, because I'll get so confused that things go, or have so many ideas trying to be expressed at once, or something that it goes nowhere. I mean, I'll be working, but it'll go nowhere,
right. Yeah.
Which is kind of the same as, I can't get anything on this blank canvas. It's just that I got everything on it and it didn't work.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you have pieces that you've painted that you think, I can't sell this, I love it so much, or are you not? Do you let it all go?
I love to sell it.
Yeah. I saved one. I have one particular painting that I painted in the very beginning. I have one little guy that I keep, and then I have one relatively large painting, and I just can't bear to sell them. If somebody offered me an obscene amount of money, maybe I would, but
Oh, that's cool. See, that's awesome that you've got a couple that you just want.
They're just, my little babies that I'm pretty good about. Anything goes out the door, no problem, with songs or paintings or whatever, but I have a couple that I can't quite do it. When did you move to Nashville, of all places? Was it music? Was that the impetus? Or was... Yeah, okay. So it had nothing to do with art. You were like, it's a music town. And
it was music, yeah. Well, I started as again, circling back to Pat Pattison, when I was going back to Berkeley to do workshops, I started working with him. And I think he recognized that I was extremely naive young woman with a child, and incredibly determined and talented, and I think he saw that I needed some guidance and a hand up, and so he actually is the person who gave that to me, and he put me in the internship at Warner Chapel.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm, yeah, some stars aligned where they needed an intern kind of right during a trip I was in town. I'd happened to meet them already, and So it was it was a magical, but Pat definitely was the one with the magic wand in that situation. Yeah. Yeah, he sort of made the impossible happen for me there.
That's great. I think it's wonderful when we have angels along the way, turning the knobs on doors that are seemingly locked. And they wave their wand, and you're like, oh, hey, I get to go through that door? That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was
So, are you comfortable talking about the copyright infringement issue? Are you allowed to, or?
I've had so many. There's one I can't talk about. I could ask me a question. We'll see what we can say.
Yeah. Okay. So, I've been reading a lot in the papers about the papers, meaning the internet, about artists having their work taken for Walmart T-shirts or appearing in places where they didn't license. And there's a lot of talk, of course, always about music licensing. That's always front page news, songwriters not being compensated and things like that. I don't feel that artists are getting that same level of understanding that too is an intellectual property, and you've had people appropriate without credit with your work. And so I just thought it would be something to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, I've had it happen.
You don't have to be specific. It can be more general if it's more comfortable.
Yeah, I can be general. I've had it happen many times, so I can't point a finger at any one. In saying this, I'm not pointing a finger at any one thing. Some of it's been public, some of it has not been public. But it is, I've taken, the first, when I was younger and it happened, I guess I'd say the first few times it was like a compliment, like, oh, this big company used my work, or this person did, or, oh, how nice, and then, over the years I started realizing, oh, I would have gotten paid this much, and then I learned a little bit about copyright law, and like, oh, they actually stole that, and, I would actually be entitled to damages, or I would actually, all of these things, I didn't even know damages existed, but it makes sense. Someone's stealing something, and that's wrong, and they should make up for it, hopefully. And so I did start in the last few years, also just in an effort to be, because I've definitely, I'm definitely lopsided, and I'm far more creative than I am, strategic about business. But I decided I wanted to be better with my business because, why not? And the more I wanted my entire ship to be strengthened. I wanted to smoother sailing. So I really started looking at these things and really instead of shying away and thinking like, oh, that's so nice, I've been promoted again. No, it's actually nice for them too. They've got this piece of art that I really worked hard to make, and over a period of years, and for it to be recognized nationally, it wasn't, I did have many lucky breaks, but it also wasn't easily done. I showed up to so many things and put thousands of hours into this. I want to be paid my, $1,200 fee or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I also, even more than that, and sometimes it's that fee, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but all these fees add up. And they support your next painting. And it just puts you as a professional, which I am. And also more than just wanting to collect on monies, I wanted to exercise. I think I made that painting. I should choose where it goes. Yes. I care about that. I care about what sort of television show I'm supporting or not supporting, or artist, or I just, charity, whatever, I care. It should, I think we're talking about that a lot in the news right now. You're allowed to say no.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And this is in a business sense here, but, same thing. I really think it's important that this is what the Hey Human broadcast, that we as humans are allowed to say yes or no. So I started fighting on some of these where it's like, hey, I didn't say it could go in there, and, and it's difficult because, if it's a large entity, it can cause a lot of complications for the entity, in that, you know, someone messed up somewhere, they forgot to get a license, or they just tried to slide it through, or whatever. I don't know what they did, you know, but when they're working in this huge system with all these people, it's very complicated for them to resolve the issue. But what I would love is, by speaking up, is for people to start to say, like, oh yeah, actually it's not that hard to work with an artist. Look, here, she just offered us a great deal, write her a check, and here we go. You know what I mean?
It seems like an easy solution to just do it right, you know, instead of being embroiled in some sort of giant legal thing, when all they should have done is pay you for your work.
It would just be very easy.
It makes sense, but God forbid human beings act normally sensical.
But that's what, you know, in me speaking up, that's what I've decided. The first few times it happened and I decided to speak up, it was just enormously stressful. You know, it was scary, and it was stressful, and it was hard to get, like, what seems so simple to me, like, hey, that's my work, here's your invoice.
Finding your voice and owning your power is very stressful to come to, to get to that point. I agree. That is a very scary, but God bless, man, the more of us that can get there, the easier it will be for the next person, you know, to do it.
Yeah, I think so. So I also think so, in speaking about it, you know, the message that more than anything, if any artist is having a copyright issue and wants to call me, I'm totally happy to talk about it, because I think it helps to talk to people who have been through it before. And now I say I'm uneducated, but I actually, like, I have a pretty solid education in copyright law at the moment. You know?
Yes.
I feel like I do. I feel like I really understand it. And so, especially compared to the first time I decided to try to make something of my copyright, or try to right a wrong, I know so much more. But I do think the message that I really want to deliver, it's not like fight the man, fight the machine, it's none of those things. I really don't think that, I don't think that the machine or the corporation or the way is sitting there like, how can we take another artist down today? Like, that is just, I don't see that happening. I think, though, it's like, they've got a complicated system going. They've got many people, many objectives. And so the message is just like, if we could get it into more heads, like, hey, this can be really simple. And by the way, working with an artist is most of the time not that hard.
Yeah.
You know, give her a call, see what...
And it's my understanding that in a lot of other countries, they are mass producing things with art that, like, say you paint a painting, then some factory in China is mass producing it and selling it. And I read somewhere that, you know, the more textures you use in a painting, the better, because it's hard to replicate textures and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, my God, what is it coming to? Yikes.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know about it. I guess it would be harder to replicate textures, but...
But you shouldn't have to be like, oh, I guess I'll start adding sand to my painting so nobody steals it. You shouldn't have to, you know, that shouldn't be your modus operandi and how you create. Like, oh, how do I keep people from taking things? You do all sorts of fun things too, right? You do, not to get off topic, but for a second, before I forget it, because I probably will, the way my brain works, but you do, like, you have wrapping paper, and do you have, like, a clothing line too and stuff? Have you done that?
Yeah, last year I did a line of product, and it fell into some copyright issues.
It did? Oh, gosh. Here I thought I was going off on a tangent, and it turns out not so much.
Yeah, that's why it all disappeared since last year. But I am working on, I'm going to relaunch another smaller line of product that I'll be working only with myself on, and so it shouldn't have any big problems.
Are you your own manager? Or do you have an agent? You are. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you ever have an agent, or were you always your own?
I had a few failed attempts, but mostly the times things have really worked well for me. It's just been me doing my thing. I do I am looking for representation right now, but at this point I've been through so many different, business arrangements and things. I have a very, very clear idea of what kind of person and sort of relationship and environment that I'm looking for. So I'm just doing it myself until I find exactly what I want in that. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have any big projects coming up? I know you do the May I Paint Your Pet, which I love, and you gifted me with a beautiful painting of Mikey, my beloved puppy who passed away.
Mikey,
yeah,
yes.
Such a good dog. And you captured him perfectly, and it's in a place of honor in my living room, so everyone sees it, and I much appreciate it. And my ex got the other painting that you painted that is also a lovely painting, but I don't know where he puts it, but I know where I put mine. Yeah.
Oh, I had to paint Mikey. He was when you were looking for him in all the posts, it was just...
Yeah. That was a traumatic time in my life, for sure.
I'm so sorry.
No, it is just the way life works. So, but May I Pet Your Pet is such a... What started that?
Well, just...
And it's such a polite way to say it. May I pet your pet? Paint your pet is so wonderful.
Well, it started long ago with May I Paint Your Pants. When I was performing, I would do a little skit called May I Paint Your Pants, and we would invite people on stage to have their pants painted. And
fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So all of those different performances that I did through the years, I don't know if your audience knows, but I did a lot of hundreds of performances with bands and music, and in many of those, we invited people to get their pants painted, starting with the shows that Max Abrams and I did together, and then even when I was out on the road with Big and Rich, we would invite people. It got to where we got too long of a line to continue doing it. It was really funny how many people would just stop what they were doing and let you throw paint on their pants.
It's amazing. So wonderful.
Yeah, and I called it May I Paint Your Pants because I thought, you have to ask before you do that to someone, know? And then when I got into the pet paintings, I thought it was funny, so May I Paint Your Pet.
And they're so fantastic. I am a huge animal lover, and I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing to have.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's quite popular. You get a lot of clients to do that, yes?
I do. Yeah, I'm pretty busy painting pets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And I'll put a link on my heyhumanpodcast.com that will link to May I Pet Your Pet. That's hard to say. May I pet? May I paint your pet? .com. That wasn't easy for me. I just want you to know that.
Yeah. That's
my
funny.
tongue nearly fell out of my mouth trying to say that out loud. Yeah. Anyway, so it's good. So what's the big plan? You live in California, correct? Mm-hmm. You're still in California.
Yes.
So in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have shows coming up or?
No. I've got I'm gonna have a bunch of work is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But no planned show. No. This is the date. No save the dates. That's what I'm trying to say. No save the dates. Lots of work. No save the dates.
A lot
at the
of
moment.
commissions.
Yes.
Do you find commissions stressful? Do they stress you out at all? Like, oh my gosh, what if? When I first started doing commissions, I remember I would paint, and I still sometimes do this. I'd paint 2 or 3 different paintings, and I would say, well, pick your favorite, because I was so stressed that I would paint something and they wouldn't like it.
Oh, that's interesting. I was thinking about trying that because sometimes I do. Sometimes I do get stressed, but usually it works out. And it depends on the person. I mean, I think when it comes to personal work for people, I've been pretty lucky. I get people that hire me really like what I do, or we connect in some way, and so I can trust that it's going to work out. But there is right now I'm doing a pet portrait for the 3rd time because I just wasn't. This is a woman who's bought other work from me and other pet portraits, and it just wasn't getting her dog. So I just do it again, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't have to do that very often, but every now and then, it doesn't fit the idea that we both had. And, I mean, as long as I'm dealing with a reasonable person, I have no problem to, you know, working until
everybody's happy.
Yeah, because you want the piece of art that goes into someone's home, you want them to love it. You know, you don't want, yeah,
for sure. So, what any big future plans? You're going to be in Los Angeles for a while. I know that you had moved. You had your space, and
I wish I had some big excitement to end this with.
No, it's I mean, I think it's all exciting. What you do is exciting. Your work is very exciting, as far as I'm concerned. It's so evocative. So I think no matter what you're doing, whether you're painting a pet or a giant piece, it's evocative. It's exciting. It stirs you. It stirs me. But so you were in a space. There was construction going on, and it was making you insane. Did you end up leaving that art space, or did you stick it out till the construction was?
I did move.
You did.
Yeah, I did move. I couldn't handle it. I'm sorry, another call came in there.
Okay.
I'm far too sensitive to be around noise all day long.
Yeah. Are you doing a live workspace, or did you separate?
I'm working. Well, I'm working out of a live space right now, and not quite sure where I'm gonna restart my studio.
Yeah, I love live workspaces. When I first met you, that place you had, which I think they've long since knocked it down and put something else there. But man, that was a cool space.
Yeah, the building over on 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's still there.
Is it still there? I haven't driven by to see, but it was a cool spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. Yeah, I prefer to be in. That's what I just moved my studio out of was a large live workspace. Yeah.
I think it's fun because I know myself, and I know if I don't have something to create on in pretty much every room that I live in, I'll get lazy and end up not doing as much as I should, you know, or I'll end up just like sketching things on pieces of paper or writing little notes or something, and then I'll have 1,000 notes and no product, which, you know, or no creative thing with which to speak of. So know thyself, they say. I like having everything in one place.
That's great.
Yeah. It's always such a delight to talk to you. Thank you for being on here. Before we hang up, I want to, you know, again with the cliche questions, which there's a million people. I'd like to think there's a million people listening. There's not a million people listening. There's a million people out there who are thinking, maybe I'll get into the creative force of, you know, maybe I'll be a writer or a painter or whatever it is, or an actor or an actress or whatnot. And I think there's a cloud overhead that's threatening to say, creativity doesn't pay, therefore, and none of us really who are truly creative, we don't get into it because we think we're going to end up rich and famous. That's not the inspiration. We do it because we can't not do it. But if I'm, you know, Bobby Sue Jones, I don't know, that's a great name, Bobby Sue Jones, sitting in her little hometown in Ohio thinking, man, I want to paint or I want to do this. Would you have any words of wisdom for the creatives out there that are budding up, that are do it. Our future?
Do it. If you want to do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Nike's about to sue you for that, by the way. No.
I'm just kidding. Sorry, Nike.
I'm kidding.
I didn't say that with a whoosh symbol, though.
That's right. There was no whoosh. There's no intellectual property ceiling. Just do it.
Then how about let's see. Let me retract that advice. Get busy.
Get busy. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. And even if they don't have, you were very lucky. You had supportive parents. And of course, there are many who don't have that.
Yeah, as a child. Well, then what you do in that case is you say, like we do. I mean, my parents I think we all grow up and wind up having complaints about our parents, you know.
Sure.
I didn't grow up like in the magical woods with fairy parents, you know.
Hey, if they're good parents, we're gonna have complaints. That means they did something right, probably.
Yeah, they are really cool people, but they and I am blessed and lucky in that regard. But you know, there comes a time too when it's I'll just put an example on it. Having a conversation with a friend yesterday about how if we're patterning after our parents in our relationship choices, romantic choices, and things like this, and we were going back and forth discussing it. And, you know, the truth of it really is, it's like, maybe you are, maybe you aren't, maybe I learned this bad habit from this parent or that parent, or maybe I didn't get the encouragement that I, you know, would have helped me from this one parent. I'm saying this now to address, like,
Sure.
Say you were a child, your parents said, no, don't make art, there's no money in it, it's not a real life, it's not a this, it's not a that. Well, they said that, okay, but the truth is, it's your life, not their life. No matter what you learned from them or what you did, like, you get to choose. So I think that, you know, when I say get busy or do it, you know, it's really just own it. If that's what you want, then you have to really own it no matter what someone did or didn't say to you, and you can choose differently. Just because someone told you it won't work doesn't mean it's true.
How did you deal with criticism coming up? Because I imagine you are not unscathed. I'm sure there were times when there were people who maybe were in a position of power in the art world who was like, not really digging it or vibing on it, because there's not one person that gets total adoration. There's always someone. I'm not talking about the trolls that are just rude and doing whatever. How did you deal with your first dose of criticism? Because I think that's such an important lesson on learning who you are and where you're going and what you want and all that kind of stuff. How did you have any good advice about that?
I just expect criticism, really. It's not that it doesn't hurt your feelings, but I think I had some major difficulties personally as a young person, and so I kind of have this, like, well, nothing's tougher than that attitude. You know, I had some major trauma, and so I don't know whether that's healthy or not, but I do kind of have a nothing's worse than that kind of attitude. And, you know, I have come to points in my life where I have to stop and actually, you know, deal with it. Like, you can't just brush everything off or tuck it all inside and act like it doesn't matter. But that is how I dealt with a lot of it, was just like, I've been through worse.
Right.
You know, like,
perspectives. It's about perspectives.
It's fine, yeah, but I do think there's always, you know, it's not a, no piece of criticism, whether it's good or bad, is the final answer, you know. So I think keeping that in mind is good, because what you're actually doing, it's not creating something finite. You know, you made an object, but it could burn, it could get lost, it could get stolen, it could get destroyed, you know. So we're not doing anything finite. What we're actually doing is growing. So you can connect with people who understand. If they don't understand your expression, maybe someone thinks, oh, well, that's Rachel's latest art is no good, and, you know, wants to criticize it and on and on. Well, then I will be able to find someone who's like, ooh, I really enjoy where you are in your process, or I relate to where you are in your process. And so I think you're looking for that more than you're looking for someone to say if it's good or bad.
Yeah. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because if someone relates to where you are in your process, then you can have a real conversation that is, you know, growth stimulating and productive and interesting and fun and exciting. Yeah.
Did I see that you've either done it already or you're going to be doing a TED Talk? Is that correct?
No. I did a painting during a TED Talk.
Okay, because I saw your name associated with TED Talk. I was like, oh my gosh, does she get to do a TED Talk? That'd be so cool. But it's
That would
still
be fun.
Yeah.
No one is calling me up for my talking.
They may indeed. You never know.
You just did.
I did, exactly. See? There's at least one person that wants to hear what you have to say. I'm sure there's more, so.
Yeah, no, I did a painting, though, which was awesome. Really, really fun experience.
That's cool. That's sort of a dream for me. That is a dream for me, that one day I get to do a TED Talk. I think that would be so badass.
Oh, you do a great TED Talk.
I would love it. It would be amazing. But anyway.
What would your topic be?
Well, that's a good question. There's so many. I could talk about creativity, or the process of learning how to love oneself, dealing with our shadow. I'm real into that. I always joke, that I'm a serial killer that's never killed anyone, because I'm in touch with my shadow self. I understand my shadow, and because I understand it, I don't act on anything that the shadow is like whispering in your ear, going, "Why don't you just run over those people in the crosswalk?" Because everyone's had that thought, and I can be like, "That's funny, shadow. I'm not gonna do that. That's really not my thing," that kind of thing. I think that would be, stuff like that. Philosophy, science, I don't know. There's so many things that interest me. It would be fun. It'd be fun to figure out and do one. But I'll just have to do Susan talks to myself in the mirror.
Huh?
I'll do Susan talks in the mirror to myself.
Get your Susan talks ready for your TED Talks.
Yeah, exactly. So RachelKice.com is the main website for you. And then may I paint your... I cannot dang it, say it. May I paint your pets.com. Or pets, singular. May I paint your pet.com.
Yes, May I Paint Your Pet or Rachel Kice. I think they're all going to the same place right now.
Yeah.
But that'll change in about a week, I think.
Yeah.
We'll have the...
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll link to both, and it'll be what it is, because I think it's neat to... I'm sure they think different. Somebody sees Rachel Kice, they think, okay, Rachel Kice, and then they see the May I Paint Your Pet, and then they think, oh, my pet, and so that's good. That's good to have it separated.
Right.
It's a good thing. Thank you so much for being on Hey Human. I really appreciate it. It's been delightful.
Oh, thank you, Susan. Same to you.
Yay.
All right, have a beautiful day. All right.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.